Hey guys, what's going on? Scooz from the Wise Wealth Discord. Coming at you live on the Sunday night. I apologize for last week. I missed it. Pretty bad toothache. Sometimes it's just hard to focus and pay attention when your tooth is hurting. So I decided not to do it. Lame excuse, I know, but we're back. We're back with another one. So what am I seeing? We're gonna start with the SPY. Last week was pretty volatile. We had a good jump up. I know it's been 2 weeks since we last spoke, but I was starting to turn a little bit more bullish in some of the movement that was happening down here. I'm going to bring it down to the 1 hour just so I can get a little bit more exact on the days. So we had a flush. That was the end of September, start of October. So, sorry, I haven't looked at any of the charts at all. So I'm just kind of winging it right now. So last week was the 9th through the 13th. We started here, and I was kind of calling for calls right around on this dip, but I know Jimmy was kind of waiting for the 4,300 mark. I think it was on the futures, somewhere around here for a break above that. As you could see, it broke above, it came back, retested it, and then in the Discord, I was talking about that big retest that the Qs were coming to have. That was a big moment for them to hold. So you got this level right here. So it finally broke out of this range that it was in, and then it came back, retested it, and when it held it, it went and created a new higher high. So you can see this range is kind of sideways, broke above, retested it, went for it. So we spotted that, we sniped it out from a mile away that there was some bullish carving happening down here. It was basing, it was forming. Saw the breakout, played the retest by calls. Beautiful. I started personally selling my calls Thursday and Friday. Thursday it got smoked towards the end of the day, and I was like, whatever. And then Friday it was up a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I'll probably get rid of it because it was getting pretty close to this trend line. The SPY and the Qs both kind of have. So you have a downward trend happening right now that hasn't quite broken over. This is kind of a little really tight range. It hasn't quite broken over, and another big thing that's happening is there was that head and shoulders that everyone was worried about, and you have this here. Let me draw it really quick. You have this left head. It's not a beautiful one, but it definitely could have made it possible. And then you have the right shoulder here, and there it goes. And as you can see, it broke down, got rejected, and then went to go down. Went to go down more, so it did break the neckline of it, but the measured move from the top to the bottom is about 6%. So that means from the neckline, this is just a measured move, it doesn't have to be exact, but this neckline right here that you're waiting for it to break out of, it should be close to 6%. 6% would bring us around like the 407, 408 area, which that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you have to realize that us getting above this neckline is massive. That's good for the Bulls because it's a failed breakdown. Because it was trying to, like I said, it was 6% from the top, so the measured move would be a little bit lower. Which personally, that's kind of what I'm trying to bank on here. Is I'm going short because of this trend line, and I'm hoping that this neckline is broken again, which is getting awfully close. They always leave us at like a cliffhanger, but you look at the daily and it like just barely maybe closes below it. You could even give the neckline a little bit higher up here and say that it closed below it, or you could, I'm going down here a little bit further with it. But that's personally how I'm seeing it. I don't want to say that it's crashing or anything to that nature. It could just be a pullback, because we had such a high push up, from the oversold points that we could be having a pullback. But I do think if we lose some of these levels, so the Qs had it as well, where they had this head and shoulders, and then now it's like trying to hold it. But we were buying calls down here just because it was the bottom of the trend. And now that it got towards the top, as you can see, there's pretty big resistance here, and we're still in a downtrend. So once I saw on Friday, it got denied, or Thursday, I believe this was, it got denied from the top of the channel, and it started coming down. I entered shorts. banked on this, but I ended up holding them. Jimmy and I were talking about it that it possibly was fear from the Middle East and possible World War III. And then Jimmy had mentioned that, if they don't go through with the expected invasion, I don't know exactly how it, like who it is that's invading what, but if they don't go through with that invasion, then possibly futures could gap up. And as of right now, Jimmy is kind of correct. Right now, futures is up, so we could possibly have a gap tomorrow morning. Just have to wait and see. It looks like it's a good bounce, but I just like the levels that I had played. I don't know. Like I don't know if it's gonna go create a newer low, but you could see, higher or a higher high here. Then it was a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and it's like, is it gonna get denied and go create a lower low again? Is it gonna break through that? We have yet to see. That's kind of where Jimmy and I were talking in the Discord, back and forth about what's going to happen in the next coming weeks because it's hard to tell. He was kind of showing me a seasonality chart. This is a good one where it shows right here major October seasonal flow. It's right about the start to the middle of October, which is exactly where we are. And it shows that there's a big dump there. And then shortly after, that's when, leading into November, leading into December, it gets bullish. So I don't know. I'm not quite playing seasonality here, but there are definitely some signs that looks like it could go down and create another lower low. Can't predict the future, but that's kind of the levels I'm playing right now on NQ. So we'll see. That's kind of my play. I have shorts on them, but obviously I'll go through some of the other stocks and things that I'm looking at for the week. See if there's any possibly some bullish setups too, because I know there was quite a bit of breakouts last week as well. You got the yields. That day that Jimmy had said in the chat that there was a 30-year bond auction, you could just see the big, momentum move right here. It's just that's a huge move, and 10-year, 20-year treasuries, 2 year. I usually just watch the 10-year and the 2 year, but there was a 30-year treasury bond auction that I don't know if it's the government or the IRS. I don't know how it's worked. The Feds where they were selling them and there wasn't as much demand as people thought. So yield skyrocketed, and then that's when the market started tanking. Was that day that happened? So we'll see. It's important to watch. They're still kind of broken out of it. It does kind of move just like a. That's the monthly chart. You could see it just like having a huge, 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 huge push up to the upside. So that's never good for stocks when yields are going crazy like that. You have the dollar, same thing. It's inverse. When yields are going up or the dollar's going up, stocks are typically going to start coming down. You really just kind of have a channel going right here. Just a tiny one. I'm on the 15 minutes, so it doesn't really mean much, but little channel going on right there. See if it can break down, break above, break below. Looks like a rising wedge, kind of, in my opinion. It's a little wider than a wedge, but rising channel maybe. So yep, the dollar and the 10-year and 2 year start going up. That's not good for stocks in general, especially tech or the Russell 2000 are affected a lot by those because higher interest rates on their type of debt, they're not really making profits. They're going to be sold off pretty heavy. We'll start with Apple. That's always a good one to start with. Still kind of choppy, like I was saying a couple weeks ago. Nothing's really decided here. Um, you can obviously see there's a pretty big resistance level right there. And then support, let's say right about here. Right about this area is a good range that it's in. So it calls above and retested 180, and then until, it's either denied here, could come back down to the 174.08 area. Hope the Bears are ready to hold on, but it could be, a different trend here. You could look at it as like a higher low, lower or a lower high, higher low type situation. Is creates a lower high, goes down, creates a lower low, and this is a lower high here. So it's like in a bear case scenario, you could see it trying to create maybe a lower low if it's in a true downtrend. But that's the 1 hour chart. I mean, maybe the daily gives me a little bit something to work with. I don't know. It looks a little sloppy, but as you can see, that trend line is starting to form, and with that bearish engulfing, that kind of looks bearish as well. I don't know. I might be just biased right now because I'm in short positions, but that's just kind of how I'm viewing it. I just see the charts getting denied by a failed attempt. We have Microsoft here. Same kind of thing. Is it broke out of its long trend that it had. Then this was kind of the oversold bounce. Everything was oversold, and they had that big push up last week. But now they're getting denied at major areas. It's that trend. It was holding it for, we're talking 10, 11 months since December 2023, 2022. So it's making higher highs, higher lows, holding the trend. It breaks, and now it's retesting it, and it got denied heavy on the daily. So it's like these are things that I'm watching out for. Is this the start to make a new lower low? That's what the Q's is kind of screaming right now, but I don't know. The biggest one I have is Nvidia. I'm short Nvidia just because I don't know. The head and shoulders pattern looks too good to be true. You know what I mean? Looks way too good to be true. I posted this in Discord this past week. Critical level for Nvidia to hold here. Price action is back in the uptrend, but if it loses it, it has a chance to follow through with a nice head and shoulders pattern on the daily. Neckline below is 420. So we go back to the chart, and kind of what I'm speaking of is, let me get rid of this head and shoulders really quick. The trend line that I had was this, or which one? I don't remember exactly how I had the trend set up, but it seemed like there was a pretty solid. Sorry, I'm kind of in thought right now. It's hard to talk. And there was a trend that was being denied. I think it might have been this one where it was holding it for a few days and going up. There was like a megaphone pattern that I had drawn out, but I don't know. It kind of looks ugly, but it seems like they were trying to find support on this trend line for a little while, and like it would come down and be a big point. Once it lost it, it was selling off pretty heavily, and now this is to me like an oversold bounce and getting denied again. But like I was showing in the Discord earlier, is like the thing I'm seeing is the head and shoulders is like you got the left shoulder right here, comes back, retests the same exact price. You got the head just a bit higher. Oh, uh, and then it creates the right shoulder. So it's like when I see the neckline, it's probably somewhere from like 420 to 400. If it loses that, the measured move would be from the top of the head to the neckline, which would be 20%. So I'm not saying Nvidia is going to come crashing down, but this would be the gap fill. And that gap, I've been wanting it to be filled for so freaking long because Nvidia and everything, I don't know. It's just one of those companies that you want to short, but you stay away from. So now that I'm in a short, we'll see. We will see. Like I was showing you the Qs and the SPY. There was some decent bearish setups, but you never know. This could just be a pullback from being overbought. Getting a crazy amount of days in a row where it's just flying. But I love the head and shoulder pattern here. That's kind of how I'm playing it personally. Meta, they had their big breakout. They had this nice pennant forming, bullish pennant, slag pattern, whatever you want to call it, and it finally broke out. As you can see, the days following it were big. But we just gotta watch these key levels. You would hope it finds support here if you're a bull. It started to towards the end of the day. The big support resistance area right about here. So it's like if you want it to continue to climb higher, you want to, catch a good support point, maybe create a double top, who knows, or create a higher high. So right now it's a higher high, higher low. So it's like you can't invalidate that it did break out of this big position, and that's a good pullback. It's a healthy pullback. But we'll see if it continues to go higher or if it goes lower. Yeah, Tesla, they're still coiling up in the long term. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but that's what I have for Tesla right now. Breaking the up or the downside is going to be massive. You got a huge coiling pattern going on here. We're talking shit 2 years, a couple of years of just coiling up. So big moves about to happen. I'm not saying I'm waiting for breaks. I've been kind of playing some of these zones. I remember shorting up here and then thinking about calls here, and it's like these. This trend has been pretty solid. So we'll have to see if it does come all the way down here. I think Tesla was another one that I was shorting just because of the daily. I kind of thought that was a pretty aggressive sell off there and that it could go create a double bottom here right towards the trend line at 240. Just my biased opinion. I don't know. I lose trades, I win trades. You just got to manage your risk to make sure you're not losing as much as you're not losing as much as you win. So Amazon, Google has a support zone here too. Like they had their big breakout from this previous resistance, but it's coming back to retest it. So same thing with like Meta is like you have that breakout of the big area, but it's coming back to retest certain points that it was being held by. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's the same thing with the Qs. So the Qs head and shoulder, or the was it the spy I was showing the head and shoulders. So you have this neckline that it breaks down from, and it finally broke above it. It's retesting these levels. If it can hold this, then the bullish momentum can continue to go up. If it holds that neckline area, but if it loses again, it's at stake of following through with that 6% from the head, the measured move. Which me personally, I want in SPY around 415, 410 area. But 420 was a pretty good deal too when it did get down there, and that could potentially be the bottom. So you just don't know. Be interesting to see. But that was like basically just the Magnificent Seven. I have some analysis on AMD as well, another chip company with Nvidia. I personally shorting just because of this daily, and I do think it could come back to retest this line. There was a video I was watching about the Anchor yearly VWAP. That was a big deal. The only thing I'm concerned about right here is this level, this previous resistance, is about the 1475 area. I started shorting like Thursday, so obviously I'm up a decent amount, but I could see it possibly bouncing and going to create a right shoulder, kind of how let me go to the hour, see if it's still there. Yeah, kind of how Nvidia had formed theirs. I don't know if it's going to play out exactly the same, but you could possibly have a head and shoulders here, like a mini one. But then you would need that right shoulder to go form. It could go higher, it could go lower. Who knows where that, I would say somewhere around here, and then possibly, something to that nature. I could definitely see that happening because AMD had a massive breakout on their thing last week. So it's like this break of that thing, that cup and handle that we've been watching is huge. And I, was buying calls on that breakout. They ended up paying a decent amount, 75%. So it's like, that's why we have these levels. That's why I continue to show you the same stocks. Is it going to break above? Is it going to break below? Broke above and it went flying. It's like that was a good swing trade for a couple days. But now you have to expect the retest. There's always some profit taking once big breaks happen. So I personally am just shorting the back test. We'll see if I get burned, if it opens Monday like that. But this is a big support here. If it loses that, I mean, goodbye. I'll see you at 100 AMD. But we'll see. AMD, Nvidia, and the Qs. Those are the three things I'm shorting right now. Wouldn't be super fearful. I know there's a little fear in the market, so it's natural for you to feel those emotions, especially with the Middle East, inflation, jobs, everyone's talking recession, but you just want to continue to follow the proper levels and trade and manage your risks. Have fun with it. I love trading, man. It's one of my favorite things to do. I just love watching the charts, seeing how it plays out. Every day comes with something new. There's always news, auctions, bond auctions, crazy Fed speak